What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Two Bucks Sports Podcast, your premier destination for all things Southern sports. I want to welcome in my internationally known co-host and colleague, Uncle Buck. Uncle Buck, how's life treating you in North Mississippi?
Man, life is good. We had a good Easter weekend. We got to see all of our family. My sister and her family all came up, and we had a fun weekend full of family and food. And as is the case with most holidays, especially over long weekends, I'm kind of ready to start back to work and get into a routine because I feel like we put 500 miles on a vehicle every time that there's a holiday season coming up. So we're just so spread out around here in North Mississippi that we do a lot of driving.
Yeah, carting them kids around for Easter egg hunts left and right. Mine, as we talked about, mine was quite the opposite. Mine was quiet. It was low key. It felt like a weird weekend because like college baseball was Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. The Masters was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, obviously Sunday. But I kept thinking Saturday was Friday and Sunday was Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a nice long weekend.
Yeah, I tried for 3 days to go eat breakfast at my grandma's house on Saturday. I woke up Friday morning. I was like, all right, let's go eat breakfast. Nope, today's Friday. So, it's long weekends are real tricky about that. They tend to make it feel longer, but then Monday gets here, and I'm a creature of habit, and so I need to get back in my flow, and my flow feels good. And so the only thing that is different about this week is we were recording this podcast on Monday night, April the 10th. My co-host Buckets decided that he needed to host his own Masters tournament this weekend in South Carolina, and so he will be hosting a lot of out-of-towners on Wednesday night as they get ready to play a lot of golf this weekend. So we're coming from you live on Monday night.
April 10th. I couldn't be more excited about that. I need a little downtime, need some time outside, soaking up some sunshine, playing some golf. Some really good friends coming in town. I think it's 7 people coming in. It's a big group of 8 of us for a golf trip / bachelor party, and couldn't be more excited for what the next few days are going to hold. So like Uncle Buck said, we have our own version of Monday after the Masters. I'm sure you've heard of that, Drew. Darius Rucker from Hootie and the Blowfish hosts a big blowout here, and they have a big blowout here in Myrtle Beach called Monday After the Masters, where they have a tournament, a pro-am in North Myrtle Beach at one of the barefoot golf courses here, very nice golf courses. And then on Monday night, they have a big concert. People step in, play alongside, but the big act is Hootie, plays on Monday night. It's called Monday After the Masters. It's a big deal here in Myrtle Beach.
I'll tell you, Rusty, barefoot golf is what everybody plays in our hometown course of Kossuth, Mississippi. At the Whispering Pines, every day is barefoot golf.
That's right. So these courses are a little bit nicer than Whispering Pines, but so we're having our own little Monday After the Masters. But speaking of, Uncle Buck had one of the greatest sporting events, as we hyped up last week. This past weekend was the Masters at Augusta National in Augusta, Georgia. And just a quick synopsis, and I got a question for you, and we'll kind of dive into it a little bit more. But for those of you who watched, Jon Rahm had a phenomenal Sunday. Came into the day down 4 strokes, ended up pulling away and winning by about the same total. By 4 strokes. Yep. Over Phil Mickelson, who had a phenomenal Sunday, was 2 strokes off the course record as a 55-plus golfer. Just lefty came on and had a phenomenal day. And it was good to see after all the trouble he's been through this past year. But Brooks Koepka had a great Thursday, Friday, played pretty well Saturday, stumbled Sunday morning, and then the wheels on the bus came off Sunday afternoon, leading to Jon Rahm winning the largest purse in Masters history at $3.45 million.
Okay. Yeah, so first place purse, as you said, $3.45 million. Brooks Koepka and Phil Mickelson had $1.59 million each. Tied for 4th was Spieth and Patrick Reed and Russell Henley. They all netted $744,000 each. And then 7th place, Cam Young and Victor Hovland had $580,000. And Sahith Theegala at 9th place, $522,000.
which he was a cool story. Thagala was this, he's from India. This is his first Masters, one of his first majors. He's really coming up off the Korn Ferry Tour and just had a great weekend. The crowds were behind him. He was very animated. He was fun to watch. You know, you got Rom, who's laser focused. You've got
Right.
Koepka, laser focused. Then you got Thagala back there throwing his hands up when he hits a great shot, hyping the crowd up, grinning from ear to ear. Like, it was fun to watch somebody have fun.
It's what golf needs. And it seems like the Live Tour took all the villains with them. And every good competition needs villains. And so everybody, the NBA, to rival Jordan, needed the bad boy Pistons. You know, every competition, every league needs its villains. And it seemed like Liv took all the villains. You took the cheater, Patrick Reed. You took Phil Mickelson, who has really turned heel in his later years. You took Bryson DeChambeau, who was self-proclaimed changer of golf, you know. And so it took all of them. So it was really fun. That told you going into it. I wanted to see how Liv and the PGA Tour guys battled it out. And it was pretty tame. I mean, honestly, it didn't hurt the tameness of it that Rory McIlroy was terrible this week. He did not even make the cut, which was just blasphemous. I mean, if you ask me. But if you look at the top 6, you had Rahm and Spieth and Russell Henley versus Koepka, Mickelson, and Patrick Reed. You had 3 PGA Tour guys, 3 Live guys. Mm-hmm. And so it's good. It's fun. I like Masters mainly because they play the same course every year. You know, it's like the Kentucky Derby. Like, you're familiar with it, and every year it's the same. So you know that the guys who have played it a lot play it well. And the guys who don't typically don't. You look at Sam Bennett, the amateur, who was surging at the top of the leaderboard the first 2 days. You see,
he finished. So the low AM record was 5 under. He finished at 2 under, but he was playing in the final grouping on Sunday at Augusta.
Right. And so he was well under 2 under on Sunday. I think he was at one point, I think maybe at the end of the 3rd round, which I guess ended Sunday morning, he was at like 6 or 7 under, you know. So it was a good Masters. I kind of hated that it kind of ended the way that it did. It seemed like Phil was the only one who had an incredible last round. And when he was 7 under, the course record, as you said, was 9 under. So he was 2 strokes off the course record on the final day, on the final 18 holes of the Masters. And then Rahm basically just held on while Brooks fell off. And
you know, Mickelson and Spieth both had good Sundays. Spieth had a stretch there where he had 4 straight birdies and was just hot. I mean, everything, he was throwing darts at the green. His putts were falling. So really it was those 2 guys on Sunday that were kind of leading the charge. As you said, Rahm had a good start, but kind of planed off, and he really had a chance to kind of slam the door after a birdie on 8, but he bogeyed 9, which kept the lead at 3, and it eventually grew to 4. You know, Brooks had a terrible first tee shot, so he really could have fallen apart. But Drew, you know, when we play golf, or when I play golf at least, I know if I hit one into the other fairway, that's usually going to lead to at least a double bogey, because I'm going to panic one into the trees, I'm going to doink one off a branch, and it's at least a double bogey. What does Koepka do? He merely grabs his 5-iron, lobs one over an 80-foot pine, 215 yards onto the green from the other fairway. Just like a stupid good shot. And it's like, nope, actually, he's back. And so it was a good kind of back and forth at first, but as you said, Brooks just kind of fell apart. Each round got successively worse, and he had his worst round in round 4.
Yeah. Golf is one of those games that you can't appreciate unless you try to play it once.
Yeah.
Once you try to play it once, then golf becomes fascinating.
Yeah.
It's like watching the Olympics, you know. These guys, you can tell that ball just, you know, the great Major League Baseball hitters, the ball just sounds differently off the bat. The ball just sounds differently off the club when you watch the golf and you've played it one time and you know that I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, especially to get the ball up and over an 80-foot pine tree like that and carry it 215 yards just shows why he's a pro and why I'm just a weekend hack, no doubt. The other funny note on Sunday was watching Koepka and Rahm both laser stare down Patrick Cantlay, who is 9 strokes off the lead and taking 10 minutes on every putt, looking at it from 6 different angles. And it's just like, man, sinking this putt is not going to get you 6 strokes back. Like, you're out of this thing. Like, I'm not telling you to walk up there and just hit it, but let's kind of speed it up, because the leaders were having to wait on 16, 17, 18, I think 15 too. They had to wait on every tee box for Patrick Cantlay to hit a shot when he's 6 strokes off the lead. And it's like, what are we doing here, man? He didn't even finish he didn't finish.
He finished tied for 14th.
14th. And he's up there taking every putt like it's for the lead. And it's like, I understand you're trying to do your thing, man, but the lead, like, Brooks is standing back there with his arms folded. Rahm is glaring at him from under his hat. It's like, let's pick this up, man.
Right. And it always stinks when you're in the second to last group on Sunday and you think you've got a chance, then the wheels fall off. And then it's almost like in the back of his mind, he's like, every shot that I miss, I'm losing money.
Yeah.
So if he ended up with $333,000 tied for 14th, if he drops a stroke, he drops $70,000 into a tie with Tom Kim and Sung J M and Joaquin Neiman, a big tie there for 16th. And so I kind of get it. If you're nervous and you feel like you don't have it today, and one stroke can cost you $70,000, I mean, maybe that's coming from somebody who's never seen $70,000 in his life. Yeah. I'd be a little bit antsy myself. So.
I get it, but when the 2 biggest dudes on tour are glaring at you from the tee box, you might want to pick the pace up a little bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, great Masters, great tournament. Some soggy weather Friday, Saturday. Thankfully, there was nobody injured when those trees came down on Friday.
Have you ever seen anything like that before? That
wild,
looked terrifying.
Yeah,
watching it, because I turned it on Saturday to check the score, and I saw that it was suspended, so I thought it was for rain, because I knew the forecast was terrible all weekend in Augusta. And I just kind of left it on the background, and then it panned over to those trees. I'm like, holy crap. So I got on Twitter and saw the video of the trees falling. They caught it on video, and there are, as they call them in the Masters, patrons everywhere. And I'm like, how in the world did it not hurt somebody? And thankfully it didn't.
Yeah, although I saw a video on Twitter, this guy was berating this one kid that was sitting, and his chair got hit by a tree. And he's like, listen, kid, you missed an opportunity. We're talking Masters tickets for life. Don't take one to the dome. Take one to the hand and take one for the team.
Right. Absolutely. You sue the Masters for tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. I want tickets every year, 4 of them. And I want my choice of where to go. Absolutely. No questions asked.
That's a fortune in its own, because I know people were talking about secondary market tickets for the Masters being like $25,000.
Yeah, absolutely. But
you're talking $100,000 a weekend.
Yeah,
I can live off that.
Get this, I had a patient that got to go with a friend of his, and they got these like special VIP tickets where they walked in on the 5th fairway, I think is where it was. They had 4 restaurants, 2 extra bars to pick from. They had a putting green equipped with Scotty Camerons for people to use to practice putting like you're putting on a green at Augusta. It was the ultimate VIP experience, and I would hate to know what those tickets cost.
Oh, man.
For that kind of experience.
I can't even picture it.
No. None whatsoever. But great Masters tournament, like I said. Shout out to Jon Rahm. Real quick, Drew, if you won a $3.45 million purse, what's the first thing you're going to buy?
We've talked about this. We've played the game to where we drafted what we would buy if we won the lottery, aka all the money in the world.
All the money in the world. This is a $3.5 million purse.
I'm a simple man. 3.5, I wouldn't be the guy that, threw the double birds to my boss and walked out and did it. I would keep my job. I like my job. I would just go buy me a real nice truck. I'd pay off my house. I'd buy my wife the car that she wants. I would put a whole bunch in savings for trips that we can just take whenever we want. It would be the ultimate rainy day fund. That's what I'd use it as.
Yeah. Same. I would save a lot of it, pay off some debt, and then but I'm buying me a Ford Bronco. I'm a Ram truck guy, but I just like, especially the newer Broncos. I like Bubba McQueen's old Bronco. Doesn't matter. I'm buying a Ford Bronco of some type.
Yeah, I don't want the new one. Give me that 70s totally
Scout Bronco.
Yeah.
Or
Give
one
me
like
that.
I had in high school, that 94
The
Bronco,
OJ.
that OJ. Yeah, one like that, man.
So, yeah, I would be very practical with 3.5. I'll be honest with you.
Sure.
I would I would either pay off my house or sell it and build my wife the house that she wants in the perfect spot that she wants, build or whatever she wanted. And I'd buy us both a vehicle, and then the rest of it would just be, college fun and just the ultimate rainy day fun. Like, just whatever you want to do with it. We'll take one dream trip a year, or two dream trips a year.
Absolutely. Well, I know we've got two major topics that we're going to talk about tonight: our Memphis Grizzlies and the playoff contention, and then we got some college baseball topics. But real quick, want to throw one in there for our NFL fans. Big news this week: Jeffrey Simmons signed with the Tennessee Titans. He's part of that defensive tackle class of Deron Payne and these guys that are signing these mega deals. And he got paid 4 years, $94 million to anchor the middle of that Titans line on what's actually kind of ends up being a pretty team-friendly deal. $24 million sign-on bonus, $66 million is guaranteed. His average salary is $23.5 million, which is going to come out to be on the lower end of. He's got big money potential, but it's only going to carry a cap hit of $10.7 million, which frees up some room for the Titans to make some other moves that we desperately need. But Hail State tighten up Big Jeff as a Titan for at least 4 more years.
He will be assaulting quarterbacks for at least 4 more years.
Don't even get me started, man. Don't even get me started.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the defensive tackle position is one of the 5 most important positions in the NFL. And when you have one like Big Jeff, you've got to lock it up. You just, as a Titans fan, you got to wonder if you've got enough around him,
Mm-hmm. And that's why only a $10.7 million cap hit gives you an opportunity to build some around him.
Yeah, and another big free agent signing I'm sure you've seen is Odell Beckham to the Ravens on a 1-year, $18 million contract, which seems really rich for somebody who just missed a whole season for an ACL and a guy that's in his 30s. Yeah. And so what is ironic about that for me is he was one of those names that's always linked with the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers' hand-selected weapon to go with him to New York. And it seems like it did happen. The Ravens beat them to the punch and kind of are going to use him to dangle in front of Lamar Jackson and saying, "Are you sure you don't want to come back? You sure you want this trade?" So
they've already posted a picture of the two of them FaceTiming today, but
there was a video of them in the club.
Right.
So I think that Lamar Jackson is going to be a Baltimore Raven next year.
But my favorite thing came out. I love whenever I get on Twitter and see this kind of stuff, I love the comment section. And one of the top comments was somebody had posted that old video of Magic Johnson there going, Lamar looking at Odell going, I'm not going to be here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's got to excite Lamar because Odell Beckham is a weapon that he's never had before.
Sure.
However, it's always you've got to play that risk reward. You got to check the balance sheet with guys like Odell and those prima donna wide receivers who more times than not cause more trouble than not. He's never left a place happy. And so it's a 1-year deal. It's a rental. I mean, the risk in a 1-year deal is nothing. If it doesn't work, it's 1 year. And so,
but it's an expensive 1 year.
Yeah, but it's what you need to get your quarterback to stay. They had to do something. Rashad Bateman was not going to be enough to make,
but
Lamar
now
Jackson
it's pretty good stable with Odell, Rashad Bateman, and Mark Andrews. Those 3 guys together, if Odell can be healthy, that's a pretty good receiving group for Lamar to actually be able to, get the ball down the field.
Right. So it's interesting for sure. And Odell is the fastest receiver in the league when he's healthy. Yeah. And Lamar Jackson, if nothing else, those are pretty deep ball.
Yeah. So just let Odell run and get it. If he can still run, we'll see. Fall camp will determine a lot of that. But yeah, moving right along, man. Our Memphis Grizzlies locked up the 2 seed in dramatic fashion. Had a kind of a who cares game last night to wrap up the regular season against Oklahoma City outside of big man Kenny Lofton Jr. going for 42 and 14 on a day that he got his first big boy contract, with the news that Steven Adams is going to be reevaluated in a couple weeks and likely out for the rest of the year. But the Grizz have not released. Hang on one second. I'm queuing up. I want to get your thoughts on it. The Grizz have not made an official statement yet, other than through Michael Wallace, my mic check, last night before the Thunder game when he was talking to Rob and Pete and Brevin about saying, listen, the Grizz have said they're just going to reevaluate him in a couple weeks and see where we're at.
Yeah, so it's kind of odd. The report came from Woj that Steven Adams would likely miss the rest of the postseason, which we knew was a possibility. But MO for the Grizzlies is they're going to issue a press release to back that up, and they have not. And so what was told to Mike Wallace may have been, the Grizzlies may have leaked something to Adrian Wojnarowski, which is possible and probable. That's probably how he got his information, that he would likely be done for the year. But Mike Wallace came out and said Steven Adams wants to play. So that sounds like it came from Steven Adams.
Yeah.
You've seen him before games and pre-games doing a lot of working out on the court, which you don't see from injured players very often.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder, a little tinfoil hat, is if it's a little gamesmanship. Not letting anybody know when or if he's going to play. Kind of letting both sides kind of go war each other and let both options be on the table for whoever we play in the first round of the playoffs, whether it's the Lakers or the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, I don't think that's outside the realm of possibilities at all. The only thing, he's not done any kind of live contact or 5-on-5 or even like 2-on-2, 1-on-1 drills that we know of in the media attended practices anyway. So, yeah, I mean, Steven Adams is one of the toughest dudes in the league. There's no doubt that he wants to play. It's just whether or not that knee will hold up. The Grizz feel comfortable with him playing. Yeah, I would not put it past the front office to try something slick like that, to let him be practicing behind closed doors and throw him out and maybe like a game 2 or something against whoever we play.
The only problem I see in theory to my tinfoil hat idea that it's gamesmanship is that, like you mentioned a minute ago, is they cut their second round pick this year, Kennedy Chandler. They made him the richest contract of any second round pick player ever drafted, and they cut bait with him before the last game of the regular season to make room for Kenny Lofton, because Kenny Lofton being a two-way, they had to cut somebody. And so it was that important to add Kenny Lofton to the roster that they cut the guy that they were more heavily invested in. And to me, that initially I was like, well, that's the dead giveaway. That's Steven Adams' spot. However, Steven Adams is banged up if he came back. And then you got Jaren Jackson Jr., who it's well documented, while he has been better, he has been plagued with foul trouble at some point. And then you're left with, if you're a Jaren Jackson Jr. foul problem away from your only big being Xavier Tillman.
Yeah.
You needed that extra body. And in a game that meant nothing to nobody, Junior had himself a game. He's always been a scorer. He should have been drafted. He was a small school guy. He went to Louisiana Tech. But even at Louisiana Tech, he was an absolute bucket.
Yeah.
And he is a more athletic, a Zach Randolph with more moves.
Yeah.
He's not as pure of a scorer yet. But that's the frame. Even the lefty shot looks like Zebo.
It does with
the
that little
build.
cup. Yeah.
The build looks like Zebo. The post moves look like Zebo.
But that spin move is filthy when he puts it on him.
And so I don't expect Kenny Lofton to get a lot of run in these playoffs. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Yeah. I think he's still the 15th guy. But if you need him, you need him. You need somebody. If you need a big, you want to have him.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to make a bold prediction that you're absolutely right. He's guy number 15, but there's going to be one game in this first round that's the Lofton game, that he comes in a pivotal moment. He takes over. I don't think he's going to go score 42 on either the Lakers or
No,
Minnesota. That
he
was a
would play
Thunder
the
game.
minutes enough.
But like an 18 point, 16, 18 point, 10
A
rebound
Roddy
kind of
game.
night.
When Roddy
Absolutely.
got hot.
Absolutely. Something like that is going to happen in the first round because he's somebody that, like you said, he's somebody that they haven't really accounted for all year. He's going to get some of those bench minutes against some of the reserves from the Lakers and the T-Wolves. And we'll get into this in a minute, but neither of these teams really scare me. And I think there'll be one game that's going to be the Lofton game.
Yeah. And I see that. However, I will bank on seeing what we've seen before, and Xavier Tillman will decide a game.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. If you're telling me a big outside of Jaren Jackson Jr. will sway a game, because Jaren Jackson Jr., let the record show, will sway every game.
Yeah.
It will come down to him.
Yeah.
But outside of him, Xavier Tillman playing big minutes and playing productive minutes, especially on the boards and putbacks, he will decide a game for us if we have success in this playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. X has played some big minutes down the stretch, and there's been games where
played big playoff minutes. You remember he hit the shot against Golden State in the play-in game 2 years ago.
Yep.
And he's had big moments this year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Xavier Tillman podcast.
Yeah.
I love Xavier Tillman. He is important.
Yeah.
And he knows how to play his role, and he plays it well. And
Absolutely.
He will be called upon.
Yeah.
Especially in the first round.
He's going to have to get some big minutes. He's going to have to be big on the rebounding end on both ends to fill that void that we're still missing from Steven Adams. If X can do anything for me is let Jaren be the scoring big and X just get in there and grind out rebounds.
Be dirty.
Just be dirty. Get in the mud, get rebounds, body up. Anthony Dixon. Booby, yeah. Anthony Davis, body Rudy Gobert, like get those guys, take their legs out, get them tired, wear them down, and let Jaren score.
Well, let's talk Rudy Gobert and Anthony Davis for a second, because as the 2 seed, the Grizzlies have to wait for their opponent because of the play-in tournament. They will play the winner of the 7 seed versus the 8 seed in a playoff game, in a play-in game, and the 7 seed is the Los Angeles Lakers, and the 8 seed is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I'm curious to know what your thoughts are, but it can't go without a little bit of backstory for those who haven't been on Twitter.
Yep.
Because everyone's favorite, I say sarcastically, everybody's favorite Frenchman, Rudy Gobert, decided in game 82 of his season to punch our beloved former Grizzly, Kyle Anderson, in the chest, because Kyle Anderson, who we know is not scared to say what he thinks. Kyle Anderson is a smart, high IQ basketball player, and he will tell you as much.
Absolutely.
And in the process of telling Rudy Gobert he should try blocking a shot every once in a while, along with calling him bad words that start with a B, Rudy Gobert had enough and crossed the huddle and punched Kyle Anderson in the chest and got himself suspended for the play-in game. However, that's big.
But not as big.
But not as big as, for some reason, and I'm blanking on the name.
Jaden
McDaniels, their tall, lanky, versatile, defensive-minded, three-point shooting wing player, punched a wall, Rusty. We all knew that guy in high school.
Concrete wall.
Yeah, we all knew that guy in high school. We all went to high school with the guy who thought it was a good idea to punch a wall once and break 3 fingers, Yeah. In game 82, 2 punches will define the Minnesota Timberwolves season.
Yeah. Walls stay undefeated. Jay McDaniels learned the hard way that walls are 1,000,000 in breaking hands, man. It just doesn't work out.
The only person I would pick in a fight against a wall is Chuck Norris.
Maybe Mike Tyson. That'd be the only two.
So that is, I've got a hot take for you, and this is because I'm a Rudy Gobert hater, and we watched the Minnesota Timberwolves play the Memphis Grizzlies last year in the first round of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Minnesota Timberwolves will start virtually the starting 5 of last year in the play-in game with Cat at the 5, minus Pat Beverly. They will play Cat at the 5, Anthony Edwards on the wing, and you plug in Mike Conley instead of Pat Beverly, that team, I believe, will give the Lakers more problems without Rudy Gobert. I think that as a Grizzlies fan, because full disclosure and a little bit of a spoiler alert, because we're going to get to it, I, as a Grizzlies fan, would rather play Minnesota for no other reason than I don't trust the whistle that the Lakers will get. So, given that, I believe that Minnesota has their best shot at beating the Lakers if Gobert is at home.
I agree with that take because he's going to clog the middle for Cat, and Cat needs room to work. I think that, Minnesota got friggin' fleeced getting Rudy Gobert to begin with when they could have used some of those draft picks for some decent talent this year to make them better. And instead, they're right back where they were last year, no better, playing in the play-in game. I think that Minnesota is better without Rudy Gobert on the floor. Where it's going to hurt them is Jaden McDaniels because he is a plus defender on the wing, that typical 3-and-D, gritty kind of guy, a better shooting Pat Beverly. And that's where they're going to hurt. That's where they're going to miss him. I do think Minnesota's going to give the Lakers trouble. I don't trust the Lakers. I don't trust the throw-together roster they've had the last part of the year. LeBron doesn't scare me like he used to. Hot take, kind of like you said, we're going to get into it in a minute. I want the Lakers. I want, to quote Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And you got to beat the Lakers. You got to beat them with the refs because I don't know if you saw this or not. I'm sure you did. But one of the major changes is that now the 6th seed is the Golden State Warriors and no longer the LA Clippers. When we looked at it last week, it was the Clippers were in that spot. Now you're looking at down the barrel of if you beat LA, let's say you beat the Lakers, there's a good chance you're going to have to beat Golden State, who faced the Sacramento Kings, who are, when you get to the playoffs, it's all about defense. And the Kings are one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Very likely that you're going to have to beat the Lakers in the whistle and then turn around and beat Golden State in the whistle. Might as well get used to it in round one, right?
Yeah, I totally disagree with who you want to play. To me, the Lakers, at their best, the Lakers should contend for a title. It's been said all year. They have not been healthy, but at their best, and you assume that LeBron won't be at his best at your own fate. This is playoff time. This is 0 dark 23, as they used to call it. In the pace that they play, the Lakers slow the game down. They play half-court basketball, and they let D'Angelo Russell run it and LeBron run it, and then they're going to grind you down to a slow snail's pace. Whereas Minnesota's up and down, and the Grizzlies struggle with slowing down and executing half-court offense. Where they excel, oddly enough, is against teams like Golden State who go fast and turn the ball over. Mm-hmm. And that's more what Minnesota offers.
But I got two names. I got two reasons why we can compete with the Lakers when they try and slow down and run that half-court offense, because we have two of the better half-court defenders in the league in Jaren Jackson Jr., who's going to patrol the paint. And I would love to watch Dylan Brooks just dog LeBron James. I think if we play the Lakers, I think we beat them in 5. Like I'm confident. I don't think that the Lakers are the threat to us that everybody thinks they are. Like I'm confident that we can beat the Lakers. And again, Drew, better competition gets better play. So you sweep Minnesota, you beat Minnesota in 5. Like that series should not be close. Versus if you get tested in the first round, and who knows, say we get tested in the first round, we get some playoff minutes and some moxie under our belt, and then all of a sudden we got a healthy Steven Adams coming back for the Golden State series. Now you're tested in the playoffs, you're getting your best interior rebounder back. You're set up for success against Golden State in the second round.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just don't agree with the fact that, what you said was that you welcome a harder challenge. You welcome the battle scars and the wars, going forward. Heaven forbid we sweep Minnesota and you have a few days off. That's what I'm thinking. My goal is not to beat the best. My goal is not to knock off the Lakers. My goal is to make it to the Western Conference Finals and have a shot at the NBA Finals. And I would like to do that by playing the worst teams possible. And there's no doubt in my mind that this Minnesota team is in shambles.
Yeah.
And this Lakers team just made a run just to get into the playoffs. I'm not saying they're world beaters, and I'm not saying that I think they should be favored over the Grizzlies, but they will be because Vegas likes people to bet on the Lakers. I would not pick the Grizzlies in 5. I would pick the Grizzlies in 6 or 7. But you compare that to what I would pick against Minnesota. This Minnesota team is not as good as last year's Minnesota team. So Minnesota, I think the Grizzlies, given the home field advantage, should beat them in 5 games.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that the level of talent is different. And if we play Minnesota, I'm going to be fired up because there's no reason that that series should not go more than 4 games. 5 if you have one off night, but that series against Minnesota should not go more than 4 games. And that works one of 2 ways. Sure, you get rested, you get guys healthy, you get banged up players back, maybe give Steven Adams time to get back. Or you also sit around, you get kind of rusty and you get kind of stiff. And I'm
not worried about that.
It happens.
The first round game, the next game is at home.
But it happens.
So
it happens all the time.
I get it, but we're the 2 seed. We won 51 games. I'm not worried about rust. The other reason why I want Minnesota to win is because, as you said, the Grizzlies in the second round will match up with the winner of Sacramento and Golden State. That's 2 teams in California, and every other game will start at 9:30 p.m. So give me the Central Time Zone opponent in round 1.
Yeah, same. I didn't think about that, man, because for me, those games will start at 9:30, 10:30 at night. I'm going to get off work. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to come home, take a nap. I'm going to wake up, watch the game, and then go back to bed.
Right. And so give me the Central Time Zone team in round 1 because it's the only opportunity we've got.
Can we hurry up and do the expansion? We both know expansion's coming. Everybody knows it's probably going to be Vegas and Seattle, and that'll move New Orleans and Memphis to the Eastern Conference. Can we hurry up and make that happen, please?
I don't know. We can talk about this if you want to spend a couple minutes on it. I know geographically Memphis is not the West. We know that. We're the furthest east team of the Western Conference. Absolutely. We are east of the Mississippi River, us and New Orleans. And so it makes sense if they add a team in Seattle and Vegas that Memphis and New Orleans is moved to the Eastern Conference. But I don't want that. I value traditional opponents and repeat matchups in the playoffs. Like to take us and say that we will never play Golden State in the playoffs again unless we make it to the NBA Finals, that kind of stinks to me. That's a team that I hate. I hate the teams in the West. I don't care about the teams in the East. I have no ill will towards anybody in the East. If you'd have told me 5-10 years ago that you were going to split up the Grizzlies and the Clippers from ever having playoff matchups in the first round, that's bad for basketball. Would you rather play Golden State in the second round of the playoffs, or would you rather play Miami? Miami don't do anything for me.
So I get your point. I'm a fan of traditional rivals as well. I like seeing that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, I do. But
it's
at the same time,
argument I have with realignment or changing up the divisions in the SEC. Like moving SEC, Ole Miss or Mississippi State to the East does nothing for me because I don't get excited about an Ole Miss, Florida matchup.
Look, I get it. I 100% get it. And if nothing else, it's purely just selfish reasons that I want to be able to go to bed at a decent hour.
And noted. I'm with you for that reason.
Because for Eastern Conference games, the furthest west you're going is Detroit, and that's Eastern. That's Central Time Zone. Like that's still right where it's supposed to be.
Right. And I'm with you on that. I think that the Western Conference games should start really early for them. There's nothing wrong with a 5:30 tip in Los Angeles. None of them work anyways.
It's just it's the same thing with West Virginia being in the Big 12. Like their closest geographical rival is TCU, and it's that's a haul and that's right where we are. We've got us in New Orleans, and then you got San Antonio and Houston, way out there in Dallas, way out in Texas. So right. Give me some closer games.
Everybody's going to get really excited over that Pac-12 conference game between USC and Rutgers.
Right, exactly.
I mean, not Pac-12, Big Ten.
Big Ten, exactly.
Game between USC and Rutgers.
Exactly.
Makes no sense at all.
None whatsoever. But hey, speaking of Grizz, man, Jaren Jackson Jr. is fixing to get fleeced for the Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, let's. You want to talk playoff odds real quick? Are you interested in that?
I am. Let's talk about that a little bit. You're right. Then we can talk about Trip. Let's stay on the playoffs while we're there.
I'm gonna just quick hit some of these. All right. For the futures. So to win the title, the favorite is the Milwaukee Bucks at plus 265. I have no issue with that. Then the Boston Celtics, which, you're going to have to prove that to me. They've kind of struggled late. The favorite to come out of the Western Conference, which is not really a surprise, the Phoenix Suns. They're getting Kevin Durant back. They're healthy. Next, the Golden State Warriors, who is a possible second-round matchup against the Grizzlies. Then the Nuggets. And then, Rusty, this is probably telling you how I told you how Vegas was going to set these lines. The Los Angeles Lakers. And then the Grizzlies.
Doesn't surprise me one bit, man.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
And then
if nothing else, Drew, because we're a small market and they're wanting the big markets to bet on their teams. And so they're going to put these bigger markets ahead of us outside of Milwaukee, these bigger markets ahead of us, if nothing else, for the prop bet. So people, they can make some money off of people putting money on the Los Angeles Lakers as a 7 seed to come out of the Western Conference.
And Sacramento is going to have all the bulletin board material that they want. They're scrappy. They've got the best offense in the league. I love Sacramento. I'll be honest with you.
I love Sabonis, that big guy. Yeah. I mean, guy's just incredible.
I also agree with Vegas when they put Golden State as minus 290 in the series against the Kings, because I would rather play the Kings than Golden State. Like I said, I'm not worried about avenging losses or exercising your demons in the playoffs. I'm worried about winning. And that's why I want to play Minnesota, and then I want to play Sacramento. And then, hopefully Denver, which the 1 seed will need to upset a lower seed. And I hope we meet Denver in the conference championship game. But that's just some lines. I looked up. Let's talk about Jaren Jackson Jr. I agree.
Hey, real quick though, before we get off of that, yes, one other thing about the finals or about the playoffs. Last year, that whole Memphis was a terrible playoff slogan. I'm glad that's gone.
Yeah. Do you like this one?
I like the big Memphis. I like the with us. That's better than Memphis.
You like with us?
I like with us better than Memphis. That's for sure.
I used to listen to Tony Allen a lot, and he used to show up weekly on the Chris Vernon show.
Yep.
And he used to always have this line when a guy kept shooting and kept missing. He would tell him, "Oh, you bricked another 3," and then going down the court, Tony Allen would be like, "Hey, he with us. He on our team. He with us." And so that's what I think about when I say here with us. It doesn't really inspire a lot of passion. Like with us, it seems like you haven't quite finished the sentence yet.
Right. But it's a step in the right direction for Memphis.
I loved Big Memphis as our season slogan, regular season slogan. So I kind of feel like we dipped, but it is better than Mem This. Yeah. Although I did do a lot of crotch chopping, Mem This in the playoffs last year. I was like, Mem This, and just crotch chopping. So it kind of it punched a little better than with us.
Yeah, you're not gonna do any of that crotch. What you call it, crotch? What?
Crotch chopping.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. From
the old Attitude Era wrestling move. The hip thrust and the crotch chop. This.
With us doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's like, oh, come on, join in with us. He's with us. Yeah.
So. But anyway, Trip, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's going to get fleeced out of this. Right now, a lot of talking, and I sent you this today, more or less just to remind us to talk about it tonight. But you've got guys from The Ringer, The Athletic, Yahoo, Dan Devine. Yahoo is the only one that picked Jaren Jackson Jr. as a first-place vote. Michael Pina from The Ringer should have his voting rights revoked because he voted Draymond Green simply because it's a name. And then Evan Mobley is getting a lot of first-place traction from the Cleveland Cavaliers. So one quick thought on that, I'll get your thoughts, and I've got some too. When you're thinking Defensive Player of the Year, you look at the team overall defense and where this individual ranks. So, if you look at Brook Lopez on the Bucks are the number 4 defensive team. He's ranked 4th in Defensive Player rankings. The Grizz are the 3rd best defensive team in the league. Jaren Jackson Jr. is the 3rd best defensive rating in the NBA. The Cavs are the number 1 defensive team, but Evan Mobley is the 25th ranked defensive player in the league.
So the thing with Mobley is the same thing, that he is a more versatile Rudy Gobert. What excites you about Evan Mobley is the shots that he alters, that they don't take because he's there. And let me tell you, they do the same thing with Jaren Jackson Jr. He leads the league in stocks. Leads the league in defensive rating, plus minus. The Grizzlies go from the worst defense in the league to the best defense in the league. If you're talking about impact, you're talking about impact on a team. There is no greater impact on a team than Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defense. It is not questioned. Nobody in their right mind can question it.
Yeah.
The thing that they continue to question is minutes played.
Sure.
And to me, that is bogus, because it's not who played the most good minutes. Mm-hmm. It's who played the best. And so I saw this tweeted out today, and I'm just going to read it. There's some stats to it, so just bear with me. Rudy Gobert in 2017, he got 89 of 100 first place votes, which is basically unanimous. Mm-hmm. He played 1,820 minutes, and he played 56 games. He played 46% of the team's total minutes that year, so less than half the team's total minutes. Jaren Jackson Jr., with a better defensive numbers than Rudy Gobert, he played 1,787 minutes, so about 50 less minutes. But he played 63 games instead of 56. He played 45% of the total minutes. So if minutes does not matter for Rudy Gobert to get 89 near unanimous first place votes, then how in the world are we making this argument for Jaren?
And the other thing about that, so Jaren has played 1,000 minutes less than Evan Mobley and has 252 stocks this year to Evan Mobley's 174.
He leads the league in blocks despite playing these minutes. How are we not putting this together?
How can we not? Like it's quality over quantity. Like, how are we not making this connection that he played less minutes, but he was more dominant? Like you were talking about earlier, the Grizzlies with Triple J on the court is the best defensive team at 106 points per 100 possessions. The Cavs, even with Mobley on, is 109. So it's a 3-point difference. It just doesn't make sense to why this is even an argument. Like, even Brook Lopez, like on the Bucks, they're a better team with him on the court, but Jaren Jackson Jr. consistently makes the Grizzlies a better defensive team. He's a far superior defender than either of those guys, as shown by the better stats in less minutes on the floor.
Ultimately, I think Jaren will win still, because I think he's going to get enough first place votes and a whole lot of second place votes.
Sure.
So I think ultimately he will win, because nobody is unanimous on who the second best one is. You'll see a lot of Mobley. You'll see a lot of Brook Lopez. You'll see a lot of Draymond.
Yep.
But Jaren will finish no less than second in every ballot, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so I think he'll win it. I just hate they have found a reason, for some reason, to not give it to Jaren Jackson Jr. And it will be just the biggest atrocity in the history of voting for individual awards in NBA history. I mean, you can't watch a Grizzlies game and not see that the most important player on our team is not Ja Morant. It is Jaren Jackson Jr.
All day, every day.
He swings games more than Ja. Ja is our superstar. Ja is going to end up making $40-something million a year, and he will earn every single penny of it. But Jaren Jackson Jr. being on the court is the most important thing when it comes to the Grizzlies winning, and winning big. Yeah. And to take it to the playoffs real quick, it's another thing that kind of scares me about the LA matchup, because he is going to be one-on-one with Anthony Davis, who is smart, and that he will bait Jaren.
But you know who else gets in foul trouble?
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis gets in foul trouble.
But that's fine. We can't afford for them both to foul out. That doesn't benefit us either. Jaren Jackson Jr. has to stay out of foul trouble.
He does. I mean, yes, absolutely. And he's done a better job of that of late. But you're right. Offensively, defensively, we go as Jaren Jackson Jr. goes. And the only way that we're going to continue that trend is if he's on the court. And so, we need more games like the other night against
it was against Milwaukee. He had
where he didn't get that third foul until late in the third quarter. Thank you. And it's like that's the Jaren Jackson Jr. we're going to need in the playoffs. We need mature Trip. We need him stepping up, making plays. We need him on the court.
So in the last 15 games, if you tell me, if I'm going to give you these stats, and I want you to tell me that the Grizzlies don't make it to the Western Conference Finals if Jaren Jackson does this. In the last 15 games of the season, Jaren Jackson Jr. averaged 24 points, 7 rebounds, 3.5 stocks. That is steals and blocks. 3.5 on 56% shooting from the field, 41% shooting from 3, and 78% shooting from the free throw line at 30 minutes a game. Only 30. His minutes are going to go up in the playoffs as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. If that 30 turns into 38, I mean, you're looking at averaging 30 points and 10 boards a game.
Yeah.
All you have to do is stay out of foul trouble.
That's it. I mean, he averaged 25 when we didn't have Ja for that stretch. And just the guy's stepping up in bigger moments this year. He's shooting the ball better. And like we talked about, a rising tide lifts all boats. I think you got a Luke Kennard stat for us that's really going to kind of drive some of that home too, right?
Yeah, so about trade deadline, me and Rusty sat here in this podcast and told anybody that would listen, the Grizzlies don't need – it would be nice to go get OG Anunoby, but what you need is shooting. And what they went and got was the best dang shooter on the planet.
Yeah.
And they got him for nothing. A second-round pick and the dry bones of Danny Green for Luke Kennard.
And this podcast is now officially a Clippers fan podcast because thankfully they had him buried on the bench to where we could get him for nothing.
Makes no sense to me. So this Luke Kennard finishes the season at 49.4% shooting from 3. That is the highest single-season three-point percentage in NBA history for a player that takes at least 4 3-pointers per game. So he's taking 4 3-pointers at least per game, and he's hitting 2 of them.
That's wild.
But more recently, he is taking 10 and making 7. And then this just shows you the scope of how long Luke Kennard has been great. Sean Coleman at Stats SAC on Twitter. He's a good stat nerd for all you NBA fans. This season, the NBA leader in 3-point percentage, minimum 250 attempts this season, Luke Kennard. Over the past 2 seasons, with a minimum of 500, Luke Kennard. Over the past 3 seasons, minimum 750 attempts, Luke Kennard. Over the past 4 seasons, with at least 1,000 3-pointers attempted. Can you guess who it is?
Luke Kennard.
Since the start of the 2019-2020 season, Luke Kennard has made 45% of his 3-pointers. That is an ungodly rate. How he is not – it blows my mind how he was not treated. I mean, this guy went I can't remember who drafted him. Detroit, I think.
Yeah,
right?
It's Detroit. Yep.
Detroit. And Detroit let him walk. And, and then he ended up at the Clippers. And the Clippers never played him. And then for a second-round pick and a 40-year-old veteran with a bad knee, they sent him to the second-best team in the West. And wouldn't you know it, the Grizzlies, I mean, he just keeps doing what he's doing.
And he cooked his previous team.
Right. And I was going to see, I don't have it here. The leaders in 3-point percentage this year is Desmond Bain. Luke Kennard 1, Desmond Bain 2.
Yeah, man. Jordan, just 4 or 5 months ago, we were bemoaning
This is it. Individual 3-point shooting percentage over the last 3 seasons. So since Desmond Bain's rookie year. Luke Kennard, 46.2% in 3 seasons. Desmond Bain, 42.5%. Third place, Steph Curry at 40.
Yeah.
Fourth place, Klay Thompson at 40.
Yeah. I mean, two of the greatest shooters of our generation. And
I'll see your Splash Brothers and raise you some Splash Brothers.
That's it, man. And like not even 4 months ago, at the turn of the new year, we were bemoaning how bad this Grizzlies team was at shooting. And here we are with two of the best 3-point shooters on the planet in recent memory.
It's interesting. I don't think they can do this in the playoffs, but to end the season with Adams out still, they went with a 3-guard lineup and played Dillon at the 4, where they started the game with Ja, Kennard, Bane, Dillon, and Jaren. I don't think that lineup can last in the playoffs defensively. Yeah. But you're talking about Ja driving and kicking. I mean, it's just a fever dream.
Then you've got all you do is you put Dillon in the corner. You got Jaren, Luke, and Dez as options to shoot those threes. That's a lineup of death if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, you just basically tell Dillon, like, stay out of the lane. Everybody go around the 3-point line. Ja's going to drive. Y'all set some screens. Do whatever. Let Ja get in the lane. He will kick it to either Bane, Kennard, or Jackson. Dillon, if you touch the ball, throw it to Bane, Kennard, Jackson, Morant.
And then go rebound.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the old Tony Allen. You just run the baseline.
Yeah, that would be a fun lineup to see against like Sacramento, who don't bother playing defense anyways.
Yeah, and just see how many points we get scored.
Yeah, let's just go for like a 190, 188 game.
Yeah, set an NBA playoff record and just splash threes all night long because we know we can do it. But big things on the horizon for the Grizzlies, I think. Our ceiling is lower without Steven Adams, but I feel better going into the playoffs than I thought I would without Steven Adams.
Well, my thing about Steven Adams is he is most important when the other team has a lug.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really run against a big lug down low until you get to Jokic.
Sure.
Anthony Davis at the 5 would be a problem for Steven Adams.
Sure.
He doesn't
defend well outside of the paint.
Right. And so he would deter shots at the rim and he would rebound. But staying in front of somebody like Anthony Davis would be a problem. Last year, if you remember, Steven Adams I think he had COVID, and for that first series, for the first 2 games of that first series against Minnesota. And when he came back, he was virtually made useless.
Right.
I'm sorry. He got COVID during the Golden State series, right? He did not play.
That's right.
In the first series against Minnesota after the first game because Cat being at the 3-point line barbecued him. I mean, that's just not Steven Adams' game.
Yeah, and then we got cooked by James Loney in the second round because we didn't have a lug to put on him.
Yeah, and so when you look at a first-round matchup against Minnesota this year, hopefully Gobert comes back when he plays us.
Yeah.
Then Steven Adams would work great. I don't think it's going to matter because Steven Adams isn't going to be back in round 1, I don't think. No. But that's the advantage that Steven Adams gives you is that he's a great offensive screener, but defensively he can be a liability against a dynamic playmaking big man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so get well, Steven Adams. We're obviously a better team with Steven Adams. We're a more dynamic team with Jaren at the 5, but Steven Adams with those putback rebounds, Drew, even though he has not played, and I don't think I shared this last week, saw the stat this week, even though he has not played since January, he still leads the entire NBA with games of 7+ offensive rebounds, 8+ offensive rebounds, 9+, 10+, and 11+. Leads the entire NBA, and the man hadn't played a minute since January.
Right. And he's a difference maker, don't get me wrong. But he is not you will not, in certain matchups, it will not kill you if he's there, he's not there.
Sure.
And I want him there because if he can't play because of matchups, then I'd like to be able to sit him on the bench. But I also like to have him if I need him,
If I need him. You put him late in the game, he gets that putback rebound that puts you up by 2 in under 3 seconds. That's what you need.
This isn't some kind of big-brained analysis here. If I want him to be healthy, but in a series against the Lakers, which I expect it to be, you're not crippled by him not being there.
Right. there are better options, and but get well soon, Steven Adams. All right, Uncle Buck. After all, this is a college baseball podcast, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about some college baseball after this weekend. Big happenings around college baseball. We'll update the standings a little bit later. But what have you seen out of your Ole Miss Rebels? Lost a tough series against Arkansas this weekend, losing 2 out of 3. What'd you see on the diamond for your Ole Miss Rebs?
Yeah, and so it's just another one of those weekends. I feel like I'm a broken record. For the second week in a row, you win the middle game and you lose the 2 on the ends. We played 2 on Friday, 1 on Saturday because of a rain out. So the first game on Friday, I mean, it was bleak. Arkansas didn't run rule us, but at one point, like, we were going to go to game 2. So first game started at 2, second game started an hour after that. So Haley went to go get her hair done in Corinth, about 45 minutes away. And so the game plan was go get your hair done, come back, we'll go to game 2. Well, in the 7th inning, the Rebs are down 9, and Arkansas's batting with a guy on third with 1 out. And I just called Haley, and I was like, we might as well just cancel this. They're about to run rule us, and you're not going to be able to get back in time for us to get to Oxford for the start of the second game. And so we didn't go to the second game. They ended up not run ruling us. Kemp Alderman hit a 2-run home run late, which is about the only time he hits them these days is when we're down by 8 runs late in the game. Arkansas beats us 11-2 on the first game Friday. Jack Doherty, the story on him is, I mean, you know, the definition of insanity is, you know, you do the same thing over and over and expect different results.
Right.
Jack Doherty is who Jack Doherty is. We know this. Jack Doherty, in his best role, is a long reliever, the first guy out of the pen that can get you 2, maybe 3 innings. Sorry about that.
Had a crash.
Yeah, my dog knocked over something in the house. I thought the whole thing was coming down. Jack, yeah, sorry. Let me regroup here. Jack Doherty is meant to be a long reliever, the guy that can come out of the pen first, that can bridge you 2 to 3 innings. You can stretch him to 4 if you need him. The starter is struggling. The problem with Jack Doherty is when you start the game, he'll give you 2 to 3 innings, and then the wheels fall off. And that's what happened. It just kind of spun, and the Rebs just could not get anybody in the pen that could come in and stop the bleeding. So they lost 11-2 on the first game. The second game went much better. Ole Miss hit the ball well. Xavier Rivas has been a revelation. They moved him to Saturday, the traditional Saturday game, the middle game, and he's been really, really good. Ole Miss wins that game 7-4. It was 7-2 until late. Arkansas made it respectable. And don't look now, but you had a little bit of confidence because Arkansas is a number 5 team. You won that game pretty convincingly, and you show up Saturday with a chance to win another series. And Saturday was close. We started true freshman JT Quinn again for 4 innings. He was dealing, and he was moving fast. It was really fun to watch him pitch because you can tell when a pitcher is feeling it. He is bouncing on the mound. He's getting to the rubber quick. He's asking for the ball from the catcher before the catcher even gets the ball out of his glove. You know, he's just ready and he's moving. And, man, he had it working. He faced, as young people do, the command wasn't always there, but he kept escaping, but it caused his pitch count to get up. And then just crucial not getting your hits late in game. Arkansas capitalized. Ole Miss didn't. There was a stat that they showed on the broadcast where they said Arkansas and Ole Miss are virtually the same team offensively. They showed batting average. There was a couple 3-5 points difference between Arkansas and Ole Miss. There was, stolen bases virtually the same. Everything's virtually the same except for one category. And Arkansas had hit 21 more home runs than Ole Miss. And let me tell you, they are not even close to first place in the SEC. I think they had 51 home runs, something like that, going into that last game against Ole Miss. South Carolina's had 70.
Yeah.
Like South Carolina is just absolutely obliterating a baseball.
Yeah.
They're seeing beach balls up there.
Which, sidebar real quick, not to interrupt you, but that was one of the more frustrating things of the weekend was the fact that we were robbed of a third LSU South Carolina game because Thursday night, South Carolina beat the brakes off of them. Friday night, LSU came back, had a phenomenal game. And then the rain, like we need to make it to where Thursday, Friday, Saturday games can get flexed to Sunday in weather because we got robbed of a phenomenal baseball game.
Yeah, that's a weird SEC rule that is just mind-boggling.
It needs to go away.
That the whole, if you start on Thursday, you should be able to play on Sunday. Period.
Yes. Period.
And I know it's Easter, but there were teams that were playing on Easter. Kentucky and Georgia finished their series on Easter.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care about the travel. I don't care that you got to get back for class. Let's grow up and realize what is actually relevant here to
these
are
two of the best teams in SEC in the country, and like there's a good chance we'll see one or both in Omaha. Let's let them play now.
Yeah, you had number 6 versus number 1 at a game apiece to decide the series.
Yeah.
I mean, for me as a fan of neither, I was watching that game.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was dialed in.
Absolutely. I had State on my TV and I had them on my computer because I was not missing any of it.
Yeah. So to put a bow on Ole Miss, it is what it is, and the team can't figure out how to win, and that is a skill that's not talked about. Everybody can talk about batting average and ERA and all that stuff. When you're in it and you're in the game and you've got an opportunity to win it, the great teams win it. They know how to win it. They can block out all the noise. They can slow their heart rate. They can do what's got to be done to win. And this team, more times than I can count, has either made a critical error or left the bases loaded or full when you're down by a run. Like, great teams don't do that. Mm-hmm. Good teams don't do that. Good teams win half of them. Great teams win most of them. We're winning 0 of them. Yeah. And so, you're left in another situation. Like I keep coming back to this every week, and I tell you what you need to do to make the tournament. Ole Miss made the tournament last year at 14-16 in the SEC. Right now we're 2-10, which means you've got to go 12-6 the rest of the way. Mm. And whereas outside of LSU, the hardest part of your schedule is over. But you put yourself in a situation where you have to sweep Mississippi State at Mississippi State next weekend. And State, I'll tee you up, actually won a series.
For the first time in 11 months, baby, Mississippi State won a series. We went, and on the road at that. We went to Tuscaloosa, played a struggling Alabama team that's not great. I picked them last in the SEC West, and they're heading that direction. Beat them on Thursday, 12-8, in what was a game that really was never all that close. We hit the ball really well Thursday night. Got a great pitching outing. We actually played really well. Drew, so far this year, we are 14-1 when we issue 5 or less walks. 14-1.
It's crazy how that works out, doesn't it?
Less free bases, more wins. It's the wildest thing.
Sometimes it's just simple math.
Right. Because Friday, we had more than 5 walks. We had 3 hit batters, and we lost 11-1. We got run ruled in 7 innings by the same Alabama team that we beat 12-8 on Thursday. So coming in Saturday, it was a frustrating game Saturday. One that we won 8-4, but you're talking about Jack Doherty earlier. We know who Landon Gartman is. Landon Gartman is good for 5 innings. The data this year shows that for 5 innings, he is solid. In that 6th inning, that third time through the lineup, usually he's going to get rocked. And it happened. We're up 4-0, and all of a sudden, Landon Gartman gets pulled, and we're down 5-4. It just blew up on us. And it's just like, oh my gosh, why can we not make this decision? Like, this is obvious. This is an easy decision. In the 5th inning, you warm up somebody and you get Landon Gartman out, period.
Right.
What should happen. Right. But we don't do that. So we're down 5-4. But credit Dakota Jordan, Mississippi State freshman. He's currently on an 8-game hitting streak. He's batting .536 in that 8 games, 5 doubles, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs. Came up clutch towards the end of that game. I don't know if you saw, it was a SportsCenter top 10 catch. He made this incredible rob at the fence of a home run that would have put Alabama up late. And State won an SEC baseball series, the 7th straight over Alabama. We've won 7 dating back to 2016, and our first SEC series in 11 months. And we're being carried by freshmen. Like I said, DJ Dakota Jordan's on an 8-game hitting streak. Ross Highfall hit 4 home runs against Alabama, just hit 2 in one game, tore the cover off of baseball. Kellum Clark is hitting the ball really well. Hunter Hines is hitting the ball really well. As we talked about, Drew, Mississippi State is in the top 30 in every single offensive category that matters. We're 4th in walks taken. We're 7th in sack flies, 15th in on base, 19th in runs scored, 21st in hits, 22nd in home runs with 53, 23rd in batting average, and 27th in slugging percentage. But we're 2-10 or 3-9 in the SEC now. And it's all about pitching. When we pitch well, we win baseball games. And so we're still trying to figure out our starting lineup. We've had Nate Dome in there, but he's much like Jack Doherty. He is a reliever. That's what he should be. He's the guy that comes in and he shuts the door late. He's a 7th, 8th, 9th inning, 8th, 9th inning kind of guy, shutting the door late on guys. He's not somebody that should be run out there as a starter. Casey Hunt came back and pitched really well Thursday night in his first start. One of his first starts back from injury. Getting some quality minutes from him is going to be huge. Starting to head in the right direction. Getting some guys that are getting healthy in the bullpen and pitching better. But, you talk about sweeping Mississippi State. Since 2016, Mississippi State is 18-5 against the Ole Miss Rebels. We have not lost a series against Ole Miss since 2015. It's an opportunity to continue winning. We're much like Ole Miss. We have got to continue winning. We've got ourselves in a better situation, taking 2 out of 3 from Alabama, but our schedule doesn't get any easier. Ole Miss comes to town this weekend, and while y'all are struggling, it's still an offense. It's still a rivalry. That's going to be a tough series in Starkville. You got at Auburn, and then Tennessee. Go to Tennessee. Arkansas comes to town. LSU is on the road. A&M comes to town to finish out the season. So we've put ourselves in a very precarious situation, but it's doable. Our RPI is 29th right now. We've got the 29th ranked RPI in the country in college baseball right now. So the opportunity is there. If we can string some wins together, you got to take 2 out of 3 at least from Ole Miss this weekend. You got to at least take 2 out of 3, if not sweep Auburn in the coming weeks, because you're going to battle against Tennessee. There's a good chance you get swept in that one. Maybe you luck out and win one. The A&M series becomes a battle. You got to take one from Arkansas, but the opportunity is there. We've got a midweek game this week against UAB, who's a sneaky good team because they beat Auburn pretty handily the other night last week in their midweek. This is not a game that we can take for granted, but you got to win the games you're supposed to, so we should beat them. Got to take 2 out of 3 from Ole Miss this weekend, at least that from Auburn next. Don't look now, but if we can win 4 of those 6 games against Ole Miss and Auburn, we're right back in the conversation for going to a regional. We're right back in the thick of it, as bad as this season has been. And so
if you win 2 of 3 against Ole Miss and Auburn, that'll put you at 7-11.
7-11.
Depending on how you finish the season, if that were a jumping off point, you're not out of the picture for hosting.
After that, your series are LSU, which you're going to get very, very likely going to get swept because it's at Alex Box. You've got Tennessee on the road, Arkansas at home, and A&M at home. So, you're going to lose those games, but you've got to handle business against Ole Miss, Auburn. I want to throw Arkansas in there because while they're a very good baseball team, we've historically had some success against them. And then you've got to finish strong against A&M. I don't think A&M's that much of a better team than us. They're 5-7 in league play. I don't think they're that much better than us. I think there's an opportunity for us to win some of those games, but it starts with getting some momentum. Again, with LSU and Tennessee looming on the schedule, you got to take care of business against Ole Miss this weekend. It's Super Bulldog weekend, the spring games this weekend. If you're in and around Starkville, get there, be loud, bring your cowbell. It'll be a good time, but got to handle business against Ole Miss this weekend.
Yeah, that's the thing going into this matchup, in which, both teams want to beat the other team more than anything in the world. But what's different this year is both teams have to win it.
Have to win.
And
there's more than pride in this series, because normally this series, both teams are going to either host or be a 2-3 seed at the worst. This year it's about pride, and we're fighting for our SEC tournament and NCAA tournament lives.
Yeah.
Really.
And 4 out of the next 8 games for Ole Miss, not including this midweek game against Memphis and Alcorn State, 4 out of the next 8 games are against Mississippi State.
Right.
You've got Mississippi State on the road this weekend Arkansas State midweek game, LSU at home, and then the Governor's Cup in Pearl on April the 25th. And so, and then you look at Georgia at home, at Missouri, Auburn at home, at Alabama, and that's games that you think you've got a 50-50 shot at.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's so important that Ole Miss needs to sweep State. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You've only got your 2-10. You know, that's the
for us.
Going, you know, when we started the season, I told you, I said, on the road you've got to win one. Not now.
Yeah.
Not now.
Yeah.
Because you are looking at probably 3 losses next weekend against LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ole Miss did get some encouraging news going forward. It looks like Hunter Elliott, Mike Bianco said that Hunter Elliott will pitch in some capacity against LSU. Probably either means starting on Friday on a pitch count or coming out of the pen. Either way, it's not full Hunter Elliott yet.
Mm-hmm.
And what does full Hunter Elliott look like right now is a valid question as well. And so for Ole Miss fans that look and say, well, we're missing our best pitcher, that's true. You haven't won a Friday night in the SEC yet, and he's your Friday night guy. And so, but that doesn't fix everything. You know?
Yeah, for us, we got the opposite news in one of our stud pitchers in Pico Khan, who was set to take a big step forward this year, announced this past week on Twitter he's having Tommy John surgery, but did say he was coming back to Mississippi State next year. That's a big blow to our pitching staff. He was kind of supposed to be the anchor, supposed to be the guy that was going to step up for us this year, and without him, we're going to be hurting. But that just means guys like Bradley Lofton, who we've not seen pitch in almost 2 weeks. Gartman's going to have to step up. Getting Casey Hunt back is a big help. Guys that got to step up in the absence of Pico Khan and find some ways to win. You know, you're talking about y'all got to sweep us. A sweep would obviously be very, very helpful for Mississippi State, but with an RPI of 29 and heading in the right direction, 2 out of 3 is definitely the floor. You have to get 2 out of 3, but a sweep with what you have ahead of you, again, with Tennessee, LSU still looming on the schedule, Arkansas, you have like a sweep here goes a long way in your tournament hopes.
Well, and you look at Ole Miss, a sweep would get you to 5-10. A sweep for Mississippi State would get you to 6-9, and that gets you at a manageable, because you don't have to have a winning record in the SEC to make the tournament. And ultimately, you can put rivalries aside, you can put SEC tournaments aside, you can put College World Series aside. You got to do what you got to do. And getting in the tournament when you're playing in the SEC West is a win, and it can be a jumping off point. You saw Ole Miss do it last year.
Yeah,
just give me a chance to play, just give me a chance to play, and then we'll do the rest. And that's what happened last year for Ole Miss as the 64th team to get in the field of 64. They were sitting there on that Sunday or Monday in watching the selection show, thinking they were all going to go pack their bags, and your boy Cohen decided to put Ole Miss in the field, and it changed everything. You know,
so just
literal history book Cinderella story happened because you got to play again, and that's sometimes all the motivation you need.
That's it. Just give me a shot, man. Just put us in a place to where we can make a.
And we've seen Mississippi State take some real trash teams to Omaha before.
Sure. That 07 team had no business being there whatsoever.
Yeah. And so as an Ole Miss fan, that's the one thing that's always been frustrating, is that you've never found a way to get to Omaha. You've kind of had to be great and then overcome your own errors. You've never peaked at the right time until last year. And so it was frustrating always watching Mississippi State take some average SEC team and get hot. Yeah. And it was nice that Ole Miss did it one time.
Yeah. No offense to my buddy Wynn Diggs or Wes Ray or guys with those teams, but that 07 team was trash. I had no business in Omaha, but we made it.
Baseball is all about timing.
Streaky, man. Streaky, but absolutely. So speaking of that real quick, before we start wrapping up for tonight, 247 Sports, which is one of the premier recruiting websites and companies out there, they do a lot of good for college sports, came out with their top 10 traditions in college football list a couple days ago. And I don't know that I agree with it.
Okay, so this is something I haven't seen yet. So,
If
you
you had
just
to
want to
guess,
hit me with it, or
if you had to guess, what are some college traditions that you think would be in the top 3 to 5? Just what are some off the top of your head? You got any that you can think of?
well, easily the Grove is number one.
Mm.
Is it on the list?
No.
Tell me if okay. All right, so college, is it what's the Alabama singing of that Alabama song at the Alabama games?
No, it's
Man,
not.
my dollar. Is
No,
that
it's not Dixieland Delight. I thought
right.
it would be, but the
Yeah.
number one tradition, according to
Is
247.
it the Yale leaders? Please don't tell me the Yale leaders are on the
Thank
list.
God they were smart enough. The Grove didn't make the top 10, which I would put that in my top 10, not necessarily one, but top 10. Yale leaders didn't make it, thankfully. The number one tradition in college football, not Howard's Rock, not dotting the I, not cowbells, not Army Navy, is Sweet Home Alabama at the University of Alabama.
That's not even the first song that came to my head.
No, that's their number one tradition in college football.
See, I was thinking just SEC, but the greatest tradition in college football may be jump around at Wisconsin.
That's number 2. That got
or
number 2.
Take Me Home Country Roads.
Didn't even make the top 10. That's another one.
Or now I'm just thinking songs. Virginia Tech does is it Stone Temple Pop? Dun 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 dun.
Nope, it's Enter Sandman by Metallica.
Is that what it is at Virginia Tech?
Where they run out of the tunnel of the smoke. Yeah. That was the 6th tradition.
Okay.
All right. So here's the top 10. Here's the top 10. All right. Okay. Number 1, Sweet Home Alabama. Got that wrong. At least should have been Dixieland Delight. I agree, because they throw in some colorful language.
Turning and waving at the Iowa Children's Hospital.
So they got 5th. That was 5th.
That's too low.
So number 1 is Sweet Home Alabama. Wild.
I'm just going to keep firing off.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, just keep going, and when one comes.
Number 2, Jump Around at Wisconsin.
That's a great tradition.
Great tradition.
That's a great tradition.
Number 3, Dotting the I at Ohio State.
That's overrated.
I get it. But top 10, but not top 3.
It's iconic, but it's stupid.
Top 10, not top 3. Number 4.
The sign at Notre Dame. Playoff champion today. Is that
not even on the list? That's another one, man.
Okay. What about Michigan slapping the
No, that's another one, man. Number 4, Howard's Rock at Clemson. I get it.
Stupid. That is stupid. That is the stupidest tradition in college sports. What about that rock is so significant that you've got to touch it while running down a steep hill to start a game?
No, not even like an easy hill.
Broken, running onto the field. I mean, and not to mention the stupidest look of all coaches of all time is Dabo Swinney sprinting down that hill. And nobody has looked like a bigger goober in the history of college sports than Dabo Swinney sprinting down that hill. Like he's 7 years old.
I've been to Tiger Stadium there in Clemson. That's a steep hill that they sprint down in cleats. Stupid. And it's just
dangerous.
Dumb. Yeah. As already mentioned, number 5 is the Kinnick Wave at Iowa. Number 6, Enter Sandman. Number 7, the Mississippi State Cowbells.
That's stupid.
You're stupid. Number 8 is
you can't tell me that they aren't annoying. You're brainwashed. You're brainwashed.
Absolutely not. But as far as traditions,
they hurt.
Many, just thinking about traditions, everybody knows Mississippi State Cowbells.
True.
It's tradition.
It's about like being known as having the only male cheerleaders in college football. It's in the same vein.
Not at all. Get out of here.
It's gross.
Get out of here. Nope.
You are lying to yourself if you say you enjoy the sound of 50,000 cowbells.
Absolutely.
You are lying to yourself.
We say Don't Stop Believing in the third quarter, and everybody's in unison.
Oh, and you also play the seventh best Journey song. Great.
Or when Will Ferrell comes on the Jumbotron with Christopher Walken, he's like, I need more cowbell. And they're like, come on, man.
Yeah, you've ruined Saturday Night Live for me.
Great tradition. You're a hater. Great
going.
Tradition. Number 7, Mississippi State Cowbells, too low. Number 8, the Army-Navy game. Great tradition.
I mean, that's not a tradition. That's a football game.
But it's still traditional, I guess.
Is the Egg Bowl a tradition?
Yeah, well, hey, speaking of, Mississippi State had the only egg that mattered this year on Easter. But anyway, number 8, Army-Navy game. Number 9, another stupid tradition in college sports. in the SEC West.
Give me a hint. What's the
SEC
school?
West. Stupid tradition of the SEC West.
Is it the midnight, the Texas A&M, the midnight
thankfully.
pep rally?
No, thankfully with the like Texas Aggies. Woo.
Yeah.
Stupid. Even worse. It's in the state of Alabama. Is it
the Eagle?
Mm-mm. What do they do after they win? What do they do after they win at Auburn?
Roll Toomer's Corner.
Roll Toomer's Corner is number
cool.
9.
I like that. That's unique.
Stupid.
It's unique.
You go toilet paper your own campus when you win.
Okay, like, Harvey Updike.
I got no trees. In me. You know, I gotta say it, Paul. But like throwing toilet paper in your own trees after you win, like, come on, man.
You're not cleaning it up.
Yeah,
I'd roll my own yard if somebody else would clean it up for me.
At number 10 is the Sooner Schooner of Oklahoma.
See, that's dumb.
Like you missed out, like the whiteout game at Penn State.
Yeah, now that's one
phenomenal tradition.
Yeah.
What are we doing there?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Like the smoke at Miami will always be like they were the first ones to run out of smoke in Miami, out of the tunnel. Big tradition there. Again, play like a champion. I give my all for Tennessee when they slap that sign. The power tee in Knoxville is a great tradition. Like there's so many better ones.
I mean, I was even thinking the first kind of mascot related one was the USC little Trojan that goes out there and sticks the knife, or the Seminole on the horse.
Cheap Osceola planting his spear in midfield, man. Absolutely.
Seminole on the horseback planting the spear.
Absolutely. The Buffalo running out of the field at Colorado.
Oh, now that's a top 10 one.
Yeah. Bebo at Texas.
The Buffalo running on the field is definitely top 10.
Yeah.
What's
the even like even the Auburn Eagle flying is still pretty cool, unless he flies into the press box like he did that one year, but it's still kind of cool.
It seems like it doesn't fit.
It doesn't, because they're the Tigers.
Yeah, like Southern Miss did it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Southern Miss can't afford an Eagle, but
the Mustard Buzzards.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there any other ones that I'm missing? Virginia Tech, the Enter Sandman is great.
Yeah, that was solid top 10 choice, number 6 there. I'm trying to think, is there anything else as far as like traditions? Calling the Hogs in Arkansas. As annoying as it is, like that's a tradition that everybody understands.
And I'm telling you, there is nothing more daunting than that, sure. I believe.
Yes.
If I've never been to a game in Reynolds Razorback Stadium.
I've only been to War Memorial in Little Rock.
On TV that is daunting when they get to calling the Hogs. And
so I toured that when I was in high school, and that stadium like goes straight up.
Right.
And so like there's no way for that noise to get out. And then War Memorial in Little Rock, we went there my junior year, and it's a bigger stadium. It looks more like the Liberty Bowl. It's kind of spread out, but there's more people there. And when they call the Hogs, like chills. Like it's like, okay, I see why that could be intimidating.
Yeah, I've never been to War Memorial. Arkansas has one of the greatest home field advantages in the SEC because the climate's different there in the fall.
You're way up there.
Yeah, I was looking to see if Arkansas plays in War Memorial again this year.
That's usually where they play Mississippi State. We normally play them at War Memorial in Little Rock.
Yeah. They play them at home. It says location TBD. That's the stupidest thing Arkansas can do. And I know that that's the capital of the state and they got a big alumni base there. Quit playing games in they play Western Carolina and Little Rock.
Yeah.
Let's see if they play an SEC game there.
Same as Steve is the Buffalo that runs in Colorado.
Yeah. They need to quit playing games at War Memorial, and they also need to quit playing Texas A&M at Jerry World in Dallas. That's stupid.
That's kind of like Alabama used to play at Legion Field, this dump of a stadium in Birmingham. Yeah. Like, why were we even doing that?
And Ole Miss and Mississippi State used to play in Jackson.
Jackson.
It's stupid.
Stupid. Alabama and Mississippi State used to play in Jackson. But, yeah, how about, missing out on the Rambling Wreck at Georgia Tech where they bring in that big wagon. We've already mentioned West Virginia country roads. Like, that's an all-time tradition. Because, you can't go anywhere and not sing. Like, West Virginia fans are going to sing country roads. They sing it at weddings. They sing it in bars. Like, it happens everywhere. The Oregon Duck motorcycle. you seen that? We're at Alton Stadium where he comes on a motorcycle. Pretty cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we missed.
We need to draft our mascots one day.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Hawaii does a haka, like that traditional dance that
the
Samoan
do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They missed out on some really good ones.
Yeah.
They probably kind of wanted to not make every one of them a song, and so that's why they chose Jump Around, which is the superior one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that they missed out. I guess traditions in that sense, I don't know if the Grove would fit that bill. And Ole Miss don't really have any game day traditions of note, like within the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
They try things. You do the everybody put your cell phone up and kind of paint by numbers, paint by numbers thought process and trying to build a tradition.
Sure.
But yeah, that's
one big one. Last one I'll mention. One big one that they forgot. Speaking of like things inside stadiums, touchdown Jesus at Notre Dame, painted on the side of their library overlooking one of the end zones. He's got his arms up in the touchdown position. You can watch it on YouTube. Arms are up like this. Touchdown Jesus at Notre Dame.
Yeah. Notre Dame's got sick uniforms. You won't convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
As long as they're not doing that clover green.
That shamrock, no. Give me the Navy jerseys with those gold helmets are slick. Beautiful. Always have been, man. As much as I hate Notre Dame, those Golden Domers look pretty good.
Yeah. I always laugh when Alabama was playing Manti Te'o and Notre Dame in that lopsided national championship game that was overshadowed by Manti Te'o's fake dead girlfriend. Were the T-shirts that were made that said the Golden Domers versus the Mobile Homers.
Real quick story about that. I got to know Barrett Jones, that was a center on that football team, and he told the story. First play of the game, Chance Warmack, he got drafted by my Tennessee Titans. He was the one that always had his shirt tucked up and that big old belly hanging out on the offensive line.
You seen him recently? Go look at pictures of Chance. No, I'm sorry. That's DJ Fluker.
DJ Fluker is a friggin' machine, man.
Okay, wow. Go ahead.
Anyway, they walk up to the line, and Chance got that shirt tucked up, belly hanging out, and they walk up, and Barrett said, I'm trying to make my calls, and all I hear is Chance next to me go, hey, Manti, I'm going to make you my real girlfriend tonight. And the first play, he pancakes him, and Eddie Lacy goes for about 30 opening drive, and he said the rest of the night, Notre Dame didn't want none.
Yeah, I believe, was that the game that Notre Dame never crossed the 50-yard line?
And that was LSU that never crossed the 50-yard line against Alabama. That game was 42-7, but it was 28-0 at halftime, and I
was thinking it may have been either Notre Dame or Texas when Colt McCoy went down.
No, Texas came back and made a game late of that. It was the LSU-Alabama National Championship with Justin Jefferson. What was his name? The quarterback. Jefferson was his last name.
Jordan Jefferson.
Jordan Jefferson was the quarterback, and they didn't cross the 50-yard line.
The game of the century. You remember they called that the game of the century in the regular season. 6-3 or something like that. 9-6.
But later that year was when they didn't cross the 50. But no, that was the year that it was 28-0 at halftime, and going in the locker room, they asked Brian Kelly, what could happen to make y'all get back into this game in the second half? And his famous quote is, if Alabama didn't play.
You got to give, at that point, coaches have rehearsed lines that they say every single week. You got to give Brian Kelly credit for just seeing what was happening and calling it like it was. When nobody on that
Alabama
team
didn't play.
Beating Alabama. Was that McCarron? Or
no, that was
it was McCarron or it was
McElroy.
I can't remember which one.
I think it was McCarron. Actually, it was because that was the night that Alabama was up by 5 touchdowns, and Barrett and AJ got in a fight on the sideline. Remember, they were barking back and forth.
No,
they were yelling at each other. They go to the sideline. They're yelling back and forth. They got in a fight, and it was 42-7, and they were fighting over a call. But that was AJ
McCarron, the only Alabama quarterback to ever win 2. So, all right. Well, that's all I've got today. Guys, just if you've been with us this long, I hope you love us. We can be found on social media, 2 Buck Sports Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and 2 Buck Sports Pod on Facebook, and then right here on YouTube, 2 Buck Sports Podcast. Come hang out with us, send us a like, subscribe, rate, and review on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, whatever you listen to the podcast on. We would greatly appreciate that. And we're going to get this one to you early this week. I haven't talked with this about Rusty, but I kind of feel like, given the playoff situations we went through, we probably need to go ahead and drop it.
We drop it a little bit early, and then our Wednesday night. Also, if you're out there, hand BB24, we still have not heard from you. Let us know who you are so we can send out that T-shirt. We want to send it out. We want to get our brand out there. Please let us know who you are because you won our bracket challenge.
And I'll tell you, if you don't get it, it'll go to somebody else. It's not going to go to Clark. I don't really want to give it to Clark.
No, we'll donate to a good cause.
We'll find somebody who's got a lot of Instagram followers and we'll send it to them.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. We'll send it to like Steven Scotch and see if he can help us build the brand.
Well, no, you got to be in the bracket,
I guess that's fair.
There's some guys in here that I know that have their own podcast, and so maybe we'll send it to them.
There you go. See if we can get on some platforms there. But yeah,
on the back of the shirt, it'll say, "I lost the $2 Sports Podcast, but I still got a shirt."
There you go.
So, all right, Buckets. It's been a lot of fun. You got any parting words for the listeners?
That's it, man. It is my bedtime here on the East Coast, so we'll wrap it up. Thanks again. If you listen this long, God bless you, because you listened to us talk for over an hour and a half, and who knows why. But listen, we appreciate you being here. Have a great evening, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.